Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Steve sent me a note about a story in Reuters. Says, Steve, check this out. ABA says hackers took lawyers' data in March attack. So the American Bar Association apparently was hacked by hackers. That's what they do. Sarah Merkin wrote this for Reuters. The American Bar Association has told 1.5 million lawyers and others who had accounts on its website that their login information may have been stolen, according to a spokesperson speaking last week. Now, I will tell you that I am not a member of the ABA, and I've not been a member for a very long time. And a lot of people assume that you must be a member of the ABA to be a lawyer in America. But you are required to join the bar in your state. So I'm a member of the Michigan State Bar, but I am not a member of the ABA. I used to be. When I first got out of law school, I thought, well, I'm a lawyer now. I should probably do all kinds of lawyerly things. And I joined the ABA, and I got the ABA Journal mailed to my office once a month, and I'd flip through it. And after a year or two of that, I thought, wait a second, I'm paying all this money, and it basically boils down to I have a subscription to the ABA Journal. What else do they get me? And it didn't seem to offer me a whole lot more than that. So I thought, can't really justify that because I'm too busy to read this magazine anyway. So the National Lawyer Group said in an update on its website and email notices beginning Thursday that an unauthorized third party penetrated its network last month and took usernames and passwords for online accounts used to access the old ABA website and its career center before 2018. Now, some people might ask and say, gee, if they have an old website that was active from 2018 and previous, why would that still be laying around, and why would it be out there where somebody could log on to it and hack into it and get information that's useful out of it? And so I'm not sure what the answer to that question is, but it certainly seems like a valid question. Spokesperson said that no other information was taken and that the ABA said it has no indication that the information has been misused. And I can tell you also that I haven't been a member of the ABA for so long, I'm guessing the early 90s, that I doubt they even had a website. At the very beginning there at least, and I don't remember ever having a username or a password for anything to do with the ABA. The ABA is the country's largest voluntary bar association, voluntary, note that, with 166,000 dues-paying members and a staff of more than 1,000. 1,000, and I am curious about what they do. Wouldn't take 1,000 of them to make a magazine, certainly. The organization said it observed unusual activity on its network back in March, and a cybersecurity investigation determined that the unauthorized third party did in fact gain access to the network, they believe, on March 6th. So they got access to it on the 6th, they conducted unusual activity on the 17th, and somehow all that information was hacked. ABA said it asked users to create new login credentials when changing its website back in 2018, though users may have used the same credentials for the new website. It said the stolen passwords were not stored in plain text and were hashed and salted, adding to their security. So they're saying that a lot of the information that was grabbed might not be useful to anyone. So we'll see. The legal industry has been the target of growing cybersecurity attacks, including against law firms that often possess valuable, confidential client information. In March, a mid-sized law firm agreed to pay $200,000 to the New York Attorney General over data security lapses that led to a 2021 data breach. New York law firm also was accused, and this is a different firm, in a new lawsuit last week of failing to prevent a November data breach. So that's the entire story. Oh, no, there's one more paragraph. Two-sided blue paper. Sometimes my paper's got two sides to it. Last year, the State Bar of California said an unknown security vulnerability in its own database led to a months-long online disclosure of 260,000 confidential attorney discipline cases after earlier describing the situation as a hack. So that was the State Bar of California. So that's the one that the California attorneys would belong to. And it involved the disclosure of attorney discipline cases, which were supposedly confidential. And there was 250,000 of them, 260,000. And right now, I'll let you know, I agree with those of you who are saying, Steve, if they discipline an attorney and they keep it confidential, does that really accomplish goal of what that discipline's all about. And I would suggest it doesn't. I think that attorney discipline should be public so that people can know, oh, this attorney I'm thinking about hiring has been disciplined. I wonder what they've been disciplined for. That might play into the notion of whether you're going to hire somebody. And I, as you know, am a consumer protection attorney. So I believe that consumers should have as much information available to them to make choices that are informed about what they spend their money on. And so as a client seeking an attorney, I am, in essence, a consumer looking for services. So it seems to me that that would be something that should be available, but apparently it's not. I can also tell you that attorneys have been subjected to a variety of other online scams, and I've gotten several of these sent to my office, but I knew about this. I've never fallen for one. But what happens is someone contacts an attorney's office and says, hey, look, I have a need for an attorney in your area. I've got a client, or I am a client, but I've got a business relationship with somebody in your area, and they owe me a huge ton of money. And so it's a collection matter, but I'll do it on a contingency. You get 1/3, and the case is worth $1.5 million. $1.5 million. And so many people go, sure, send over the information. So they send over a bunch of information, and at the exact moment they send you that stuff to you, they then have somebody posing as the putative defendant contact the law firm and say, hey, we understand you've been hired by these people over here because we owe $1.6 million or whatever it might be. And here's the deal. We're willing to pay that right now. We'll just send you a check. And then they FedEx you a counterfeit check for the 1.6 or whatever it is. And so the attorneys who don't know this is a scam call up the client and go, good news, we just got the check. We you don't want to admit this, but it didn't even do any work. It just landed on your desk. And if this is real, which it's not, but if this is real, you just made yourself a big chunk of money for doing nothing. And I have actually seen this in the news several occasions, and I've actually spoken to somebody who worked at a firm that fell for it. And so what happens is they get the check, and they look at it, and they call up the client. The client goes, boom, 1/3 of that's yours. And so what they do is they take the check, put it in a trust account, and then, without making sure it's a real check, they then forward the amount of money to their client that the client gets. So if it's 1.5, the client get about $1 million. And then, of course, the firm gets the $500,000. And then about a week later, the bank calls back and says, hey, bad news, that check you sent us was counterfeit check. And then, of course, if you do the research, you find out that the company that you're supposedly suing locally has no idea what you're talking about, because the scammer literally just went into the equivalent of a phone book or Google Maps and looked at businesses nearby and picked one that looked big and said, this is who we want to sue. But since you never filed the lawsuit, the real company doesn't know any of this is going on. So if you were to call the company that issued the check, they go, what are you talking about? We never issued you a check. We don't even know who you're talking about. There's people that you say owe us money. You go, well, I've got these invoices. And they go, yeah, those are fake also, because here's what our invoices actually look like. And here's what the things you have look like. And I mean, it's a really stupid scam, but people who are confronted with the idea of easy, fast, big money will often jump on it like it's the greatest thing ever without doing the most basic research. And so I don't know if I can find it in time to squeeze it into this video, but I actually, on 2 or 3 occasions, would respond to emails like that by, they would say, we've got this great case, are you interested? I would just say yes. I'd never said I was representing them. I never sent a retainer agreement, so I never would go that extra step, because technically speaking, then I'd be doing something wrong also. I can't mislead someone and say that I'm representing them when I'm not. But they'd say, are you interested in this case? And I go, yeah, sure, what do you got? And then a couple days later, I'd get this thing FedEx to me. And by the way, they're always FedEx from Canada. They're FedEx from Canada. And I open it up, and there's a check for a few $100,000. I think I got one for $600, and I forgot how much the other one was for. But there were counterfeit checks that, for instance, had misspellings in them. The name of the bank was misspelled, things like that. And I remember I actually got one that was supposedly a check from Comerica. And Comerica is a very, very big bank that's actually got a real big connection to the city of Detroit. And I actually contacted Comerica, and I got a woman from their fraud department. And she goes, you have no idea how many of these we get. And she goes, the good news is you caught it and didn't try to cash it, as opposed to all the other ones that she hears about where people bring them in and they're presented and they're like, this is a counterfeit check. And so in the case with Comerica, I sent them the check along with all the information, said, here's the information. But the problem is it was FedEx from Canada. So I don't know if they can track that down or not. But unfortunately, like I've said before, there's people out there who are scammers, and they will figure out how to scam people in any industry. So I assure you that while lawyers fall for this scam, there's probably some other scam that targets, veterinarians or architects or I don't know, jazz dancers. So right now, though, the American Bar Association says that hackers took lawyers' data in an attack in March, and it all has to do with the old website, which was prior to 2018. So that's from Reuters. Sarah Merkin wrote it. And Steve, not me, but Steve sent this to me. Thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Know that anything is possible. We are our only limitation.